You don't have to go far into Horten's marker before you see the ruins of enormous masonry. There is hardly a ridge or a hill range that does not have traces of these walls, and some of them can be followed for several kilometers. Many walls can also be followed across the north-south ridges and hills that dominate here. There have been gigantic walls with widths of 6, 9, 12 and 15 meters, where most have had a width of 12 meters. Not only have they been enormous, with their widths and heights, but many of the building stones that have been used are themselves enormous. It is not unusual to see stone blocks of 4 and 5 tons in the lower parts of the wall ruins. It is fascinating to see how well adapted the stone blocks are. From what I have seen, the walls have been built with quarry stone and have had a concrete overlay. In some places you can see the remains of the concrete among the building blocks, while in other places you may only see a small elevation and a wide, demarcated strip of lily of the valley. The lily of the valley is a lime-requiring species, and here it makes use of the lime from the dissolved concrete mixture. The large number of wall ruins and the length of these testify to a great depth of time. It is difficult to determine how much of the masonry is present at the same time, but it must be assumed that it took a long time to build them. In some places it has been necessary to build earth and stone terraces as foundations for the walls, especially where the terrain is steep and there are many slopes. There are a number of examples of this. Note the little dog, which the arrow marks where large terraces have been constructed in this hill. Walls have also been built in the sea. From 8 kilometers south of Horten, one can follow, almost uninterrupted, a wide stone line that lies where an underwater hill begins, from about 50 to 100 meters out from today's shore. When the Romans besieged Carthage, in the Third Punic War, 149–146 BC, they might as well have built a wall around the whole of Carthage to prevent anyone from escaping. Perhaps this was the reason why a wall was built in Horten so far out into the sea, on the edge of the underwater hill, to prevent anyone from doing the same as the Romans in Carthage. In several places along this outer wall it is possible to determine the width that the wall had, and it appears to have been 12 meters wide. 12 meters wide was also a wall that once followed the seashore along what is today a lake, Borovanet, but which was once a small fjord arm, until around the middle of the Iron Age, when land uplift caused most of the fjord arm to remain as a lake, in one of the first centuries of our era. Large and numerous tower structures also testified to a great depth of time here. Along the masonry you can see the traces of large towers, which have been lying like pearls on a string, with barely a couple of 100 meters between each. It was probably about the length of an arrow shot.